Okay. Okay. I don't know why it thinks I'm live in two places, because I'm not. But let me just make sure that I'm not. No, I'm not. That's a dead video. Yeah, that's a dead video. Ignore me just updating the links to these boring things. I think I'm missing something. No? Oh, yes, I am. Importance. Okay. Those are all the links updated. I'll wait for people to join the chat too. And I'll use this chat instead. I'm just gonna let people know. Right. So, I've got this new track that I've been working on. It's a deep house one, and so far, it's called It's Okay. Honestly, I literally just came up with that name. I don't know if that name's gonna stick or whether I'm gonna choose something different or whatnot, but it's the name that I've used for the moment, and I'll see what I get from it. But it's a deep house track, and I've been listening a lot to this guy. This artist called Lawrence Guy. He does a lot of like lo-fi, ambient, dance, electronic, sort of like samples things from vinyl, samples a lot from vinyl records, etc., so on and so forth. And particularly there's a really nice track of his called Wichita Falls, and there's another one which is probably like one of his most famous, which is called Saw You for the First Time. And it's kind of like a mashup of those. I really liked the way he introduced the sort of pads in, because he's got quite a like really great pads and ambience in Wichita Falls, but then I also like how he incorporates vinyl style or like old style vocals. So I guess I was trying to sort of emulate something similar to that when I was looking at what I wanted to make. So I'll kind of play a bit in the beginning. I'll play like the intro and then show you the rest of the track. And most of this stuff is, I think pretty much all of it's from Splice, apart from the vocals. The vocals I got from Tracklib. And unfortunately with them, you can pay subscription, but then you can pay to like license the tracks, and I use the free trial. So I might, if I really like these vocals, which I think I do, because they're category C, which is like the lowest category, so you're only paying like 50 quid to license it, but I might consider licensing it for a song. I don't know yet, but I'll see. And then I'll sort of fast forward into the break a little bit. I wanted to give it that sort of, you know, that deep house groove. And that's happening with these bad boys here. So, the way I'm doing that is with this kick, this loop here, or this simple hat pattern. I've got this rim going on, and then I've got these two loops going on here. So individually, they sound like those, and together they sound like this. And then the original synth sounds are these. And I just remember the minute I heard these on Splice, literally, I was scrolling because I wanted to make a deep house track, but I was feeling very uninspired. And then I was scrolling. I heard this sound first, and then I heard that sound, and then I was like, no, I have to make something. And then I was just literally, because with Splice, you can play around with the keys, so you can use like your arrow keys to like play back the audio. So I made like a quick loop there that I had in my head, and then I was like, I'm getting this into Ableton. I got these samples, and then I just whacked them into Ableton, and then the rest just sort of came together. I think I started with the drums first, and then I found that sample, because I really have a hard time with other genres finding that hook or that unique sample, and I think this just did it without being too overpowering. And I'll also show you the vocals too. The guy who made the sample pack as well is really great. He uses a lot of like vintage synthesizers as well, so it's like fucking perfect.
They tell you to find purpose in life. It's a funny one. I do believe we're destined for great things.
So I've got a load of things going on here. I've got this with Simple on. You'll just hear it slowly sort of filter out. And yeah, so I just did that because originally they were stagnant, but I wanted it slowly like filtering down and then filtering back up. And what that does is you can kind of hear it. It allows space for the first of all, it introduces a bit of creativity, but it also allows space for these little the Vox things, the spoken vocals that I got from Splice. So as you can see, as it gets quieter and quieter, you can hear the vocals more clearly. And what I found is that when I had this off, the vocals weren't that clear, or they were fighting with the other elements. So what I wanted is I wanted you to still be able to hear it, but sort of take a pause so that your mind still hears that in the background, but shifts more to what is being said in the vocals. And then you get the little space where it goes into the second vocals, and then you see it start to build up, and then it goes back into the drop again. So that was the reasoning behind that. And so if you hear the
Freedom is
vocals,
a choice, and yet so many people decide not to be free. I'm a free man, and I can think freely.
oh, nice to see you, Poozin.
They think we're crazy.
Hope you're keeping well.
The
Hope
coolest
you're having a nice Saturday.
Honestly, I think we're just
And these are all from Splice, apart from that one sample from
Tell you to
Tracklib,
find
and I'll let
purpose
you
in
know
life.
when you find it.
It's a funny one. I do believe we are destined for great things. But, I know.
So there's that vocal, and if you hear it with the synths,
Freedom is a choice, and yet so many people decide not to be free.
you can kind of see how it's working.
I think we're crazy. The coolest freak.
So you see the pads are going down, you still know they're there, but your mind's shifting towards the vocals.
Happier. They tell you to find purpose in life, and it's
You see the bit where he's saying they tell you to find purpose, and he's talking, and you see it starts to build up.
I know.
So you still hear the what do I know and the rest of that speech, and then you get back into the normal volume, which I think just helps add another little elemento. And then I've got this background element which I wanted to end here, that shouldn't have gone on, which is just again from Splice. I think it's from like a Sample Magic pack, and it's just like kids playing or it's a sample of just kids or people playing in a park or something, or a playground or something, and it's just another background element that helps sort of add a little bit of ambience. And you can see I've shoved it way in the background. Like the vocal is -5, I've put that -10.3. I've shoved that way back there because I want you to just about hear that, so you can kind of get that you're in like an ambient setting. And I've got that, and then I've got this, and this is the vocal from Tracklib. So I've got that. It's a cut up from a Coupe de Ville Sometime a Bad song, and it's got my normal processing chain on, which is just the standard vocal chain that I've shown you guys before. Hey Lauren. The only difference that I've done to this vocal chain is because what I noticed, if you take a listen to, for example, Saw You for the First Time by Lauren Sky, the vocals are pitched down, and I find with lo-fi house sometimes they pitch the vocals down a lot. So to achieve that effect, rather than manually pitching it down, which made it muddy, it didn't sound right, it sounded gritty. I tried it between beat mode and complex pro mode in Ableton, or complex itself. It just didn't work. So there are two things I did differently to this chain. I put a low pass on, cutting out 222 hertz, because this song is obviously it's from Tracklib and it's a resampled song, but that song originally came from vinyl. So with this vocal, you can naturally hear some of the instrumental feedback from when they would have been recording in the recording sessions way back when, I don't know, like in the 80s or 90s or whenever the song was recorded, basically. And I wanted to get rid of that, or you can never get rid of it completely because it's physically embedded into the vocals, but reduce it as much as possible. And then I've got this halftime going on, and I've set it to 1 bar. and I've slowed it down 1.5, and the halftime is actually the thing that's causing the low pitch. So if I turn this off, and it's also the thing that's giving us the retime to keep it in time. And it's by Cable Guys, the same guys that make the same guys that did the Shaperbox plugins. It's by the same company. And if you hear it again, like, I'll play you this in the track. Obviously it's the wrong key.
I'm a free man. Crazy. You call us freaks. Honestly,
It slows things down as well. It makes it slower, and it's
to find purpose in life.
it's just great.
I do believe we were destined for great things.
So I've got that, and then lastly in this breakdown, or what starts from the breakdown onwards, I've got this guitar. And one thing I should do to this, actually, which I am going to do now, I've got a simple Echo Boy going on, and yeah, you can see the dry here. It's about like 45-ish. Let me see exactly where it is. Yeah, it's around about there. You want to get it around about like 10 o'clock, like 9:30 o'clock, and then you want to get, yeah, around about 10 o'clock-ish, and then you want to get echo time, make sure it's 1/4 note, and I upped the feedback, but then I was allowed to do that because I low cutted and high cutted a lot of stuff, which meant that I could allow for a higher feedback time so that things wouldn't get super messy. I don't really mess with the groove and feel. Sometimes I do, but this time I didn't. And then sometimes I mess about a little bit with saturation, but I think I also just made sure it was on studio tape, and I opted for Singo Echo this time, although some of the elements in here use ping pong, I'm pretty sure. But one thing I didn't do with this is I haven't done the sidechain for it, so we'll do that now. So there's a lot happening in the drop as well. In the drop, we've got our same. First thing, actually, one thing I didn't do quickly, which I should have done, is taking you through the post-processing that I've done for this synth. This synth, like, there is not a lot of post-processing, where, for example, if you go into, I don't know, dubstep, and you look at like Virtual Riot, he puts loads of effects on his chain and it completely alters the sound, and he uses like his fat racks and stuff. This isn't that. I've done minimal to this because these sounds out of the box were fucking amazing as they are. I've only done minimal things to them. Number one, I've got a side EQ just cutting out the lows, 41 hertz, 41.5 hertz if you want to be specific. Literally, that's all that is. I've got another one doing a similar thing, but it's ducking down some of the mids where the saxophone sits, and it's a reactive EQ, so it will duck down to there and then it will bounce back up when the saxophone, only when the saxophone's playing. When the saxophone's not playing, it will stop and it won't do anything. And the reason why is because I've set the side chain to be on the saxophone, and I've made sure it's pre-effect so it's getting the dry signal and not the delayed signal. And I've got a little plate going on. It's almost at 4 and mixes all the way down, and I've put a low cut at around about, I'd say, that's probably like 800 hertz. And that's where I've left that. And then all I've done is I've whacked on a compressor for sidechain, and I've whacked on Simplon, just doing that simple automation you heard there in the breakdown. It's also doing the automation you hear in the outro and the automation that you hear in the intro, which just helps. It's another way of introducing elements in this track, to be honest, because with lo-fi it's not as creative as, I feel like it is creative and it's great, but it's not like melodic house where you use loads of effects. I feel like a lot of it's more subtle or more organic, and I'm trying to do that more with the samples that I've already got, rather than, like, you wouldn't see like a down sweeper or an up sweeper in this sort of a track, in my opinion, in this type. Some artists do it, but for this sort of genre I prefer not to, so I wanted to try and use what I could, and Simplon was a good fit. But nope, I've done that one. So saxophone as well is this. It's another sample from the same pack as the kick, actually. I can't remember the name of the pack, I just remember I got it on Splice. And yeah, it's so simple. Like, if I get rid of all these effects, it's already come like reverbed, it's already come as a wet signal, and all I've done to it, and saxophone's great, it was recorded beautifully, whoever recorded it, great job. And then I've literally just thrown on an Echo Boy. This time I've done it ping pong. I've done half note ping pong and 1/8 pong. I've done half note ping and 1/8 pong in the middle. I've put the dry all the way down to like 20%. And then, or mix, sorry. I've upped the feedback to around about like 55%. I've done a similar thing, cut out the lows, cut out the highs. I've put in some saturation, that's like 55% saturation, and I've made sure that style is telephone. And I don't know why, but the BPM sync to 120, but it seems to work fine. And yeah, it's got the usual compression settings as well. Like, usually when I find a good compressor, it usually works, and then I'll tweak settings, like small things here and there depending on the instrument, but there's that. And the other thing we do is, if you listen to it, or from here onwards, I introduce in a piano arp, and the piano arp is a one-shot piano that I've gone and I've actually pitched up and down to different keys. So if I wanted to get rid of a lot of the lows because that would just conflict with a ton of frequencies in this track. And then, so I've got the Q3 just getting out around about 341 hertz. And then I've got a CLA stereo just helping boost some of the track, doing a lot of peak reduction as well. And then I've got the standard compressor, so if I, which is just doing the sidechain as well, so if I play that with the synth, if you hear it with the rest of the elements, it just sort of it fits well in there, sort of cushions the sound in. It just adds another little element. And then the other thing I've got are these plucks. The only thing I want to do to these is I'm gonna work on panning these later. I'm not wearing my headphones. I'm using my Yamaha speaker above, but I'm gonna work on panning those later. Because if you listen to it with headphones, currently that sounds all the way to the left, and that's how it was. That's how the sound was when I found it. So I'll need to do a little bit of fixing there. But yes, so I'll play that all in context. And then the only thing I've done different here as well is the vocals. So the vocals are the same. Don't get me wrong, I haven't changed them. All I've done is in the breakdown, you see this one here, which is I was of this beautiful. And then you see I keep that constant. It does the same pattern throughout the bridge. Whereas here, the first time you're going to hear this. So instead of saying beautiful, it's of this beauty, beautiful. And I manipulated it a little bit, so then it repeats back and forth between that. So it does the I was of this beautiful, and then I was of this beauty, beautiful, and then it goes in between the two of them instead of just staying with the one that would sound a little too boring. So you can hear how that all just fits in nicely with the track. And then the last thing I've got is the outro, and the outro is just a simple outro. Like if I show you what I've done here, so what I've got in terms of arrangement is I've got the saxophone playing, and that's 16 bars. So saxophone plays 32 bars. After 32 bars, you get this, which just shows you, okay, we're ready for it, the end's coming. I've still got the plucks in there as well. You can see I'm already starting to fade them out. They're going to be gone by bar 121. You won't hear them. And then arguably, if I wanted to, I could start fading down the vocals here, throwing a sample on, start from like bar 21. And then the synths just fade out. There was something with the kick that I need to fix as well. And then it needs to do that one more time. So let me just listen to this quickly from this point onwards. I just want to make sure the kick's right when it ends. Yeah, that's it. That's perfect. And yeah, I think I am gonna, as I said, the vocals I'm gonna work on, or not the vocals, sorry, that little pluck thing I'm gonna work on off track, because I only wanted to come on, do a quick sort of stream breakdown of this track. The thing I probably will do now though is let me check how I did it with some of the others. I threw on the Simplon. Yep, so there's that, and then so I threw it on after, so I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to go VSTs, Fab Filter, Simplon, drag it on, filter 1 frequency, and then where did I say I was going to do it from? So from bar 121 onwards. Filter that down. Maybe so you can just about hear it. After this, we'll take a little review. So it can end there. So I just need to listen back to this now. We'll play it back once more from the ending. Or yeah, that's it. That's perfect. So for now, I think I'm going to call it, because I'm going to have dinner now. I've got to do a few things off stream. But yeah, I just wanted to break this down. And this also came to me, this initial idea came to me in the space of an afternoon. Some ideas will come like that to me. Some will take a little bit longer. It all just depends on the creative process, to be honest. And this is my first delve into the lo-fi house world, because I'm an avid listener of lo-fi house and I fucking love Lawrence Guy. He does some amazing, amazing tracks like Wichita Falls. He's done Saw You for the First Time. Another great track from him is Untitled Needs. It has a lot of that sort of jazz, lo-fi, house, deep house. And I just love all his music. And there are a few other artists like DJ Seinfeld, DJ Boring. They do some great stuff, like Channel Trez does amazing stuff. There's loads of artists out there, to name a few, that have their own sort of unique, different style. But I just wanted to attempt my take on it. I definitely will try and get this released. But for now, I am going to call it. It was amazing being on stream with you all. I hope you learned something as well, because I definitely learned something. Because this is my first time trying to make this genre. So I feel like I'm going on the same journey as you guys at this point, where you're trying to learn what's happening with the synths or the drums or whatever, or maybe the saxophone. And I was figuring out the same thing as I was going along making this track. I constantly asked friends, peers, what do you think of this? I was constantly listening to Lo-Fi House to sort of try and get a better understanding of it. And I think it's a good attempt. I think there's going to be many more attempts now that I know I can pull something like this off. But yeah, we'll see where we get with that. But thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys all have an amazing Saturday, amazing weekend. And I shall see you all later. See you guys. Thanks for tuning in.